What kind of man do you want to be? The question most boys don't get asked. Hell, most men don't get asked. They are just taught lessons from the past. This question came to me when in my late 30s, as I didn't have a father, no uncles, no male cousins, no grandfather to teach or even ask me the question, what kind of man do you want to be, son? So I paid close attention to non-fictional and fictional characters just for some answers. Little did I know, these individuals were created by a man's perception or an image of a representation of a man. In other words, some individuals were trying to answer the same question through art. What kind of man do you want to be, son? Over the years, I finally created this image of a man without having to check societal boxes. For example, strong and macho, check. No crying, check. Having a great job, check. Taking care of all the broken things around the house, check. Dismiss the pain, ignore the pain, and keep moving, check. Ego, check. The list goes on until the cycle is broken and you decide what kind of man do you want to be, son. So I ask you the question, what kind of man do you want to be?
Black Out Loud Media Group. Welcome back to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast, the place where poetry meets conversation. I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and before we get into today's topic, make sure you hit that plus sign so you don't miss an episode. Also, please subscribe to my blog, thebrownssugarcafe.blog, and if you find any value in this episode or any other episodes, make sure you leave a heartfelt review. So with that being said, let's get to it.
What's up, everybody? My name is Brian L. Brown. Pretty much I am a school counselor in Springfield, Mass. I'm an author. Also, I work with telehealth, with therapy and outreach patients and so forth. I'm working on my second book. Well, my second book's already pretty much finished. It's just on my laptop, waiting to be published. And eventually it's going to get there, but that's who
Yeah.
I am.
The poem that we opened the episode with is called What Kind of a Man Do You Want to Be? Now, this particular poem, we kind of talked about it in the pre-show, but what space were you in during this poem and what inspired you to write it?
Man, that's a good question. I remember talking to my stepson years back, and I asked him the question because he was going through some stuff, and I asked him the question, and it just came to me, and I just
Yeah.
asked him like, "Yo, what kind of man do you want to be?" His response was, "I don't even know. No one even asked me that question." So when I wrote that poem, this is like years, forward and so forth,
Yeah.
and it's been on my mind just like constantly because as you know, like I didn't have a father growing up.
Yeah.
No uncle. Pretty much, he just disappeared. He didn't want to be in our lives, me and my brother's lives. And then we didn't have too many like strong cousins to really just like ask us that question. We get taught lessons how to be a man, but no one asks you like what kind of man do you want to be, because that comes into so many layers. Because yeah, your dad can teach you this, your uncle could teach you this, but at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what kind of man do you want to be? And how do you feel as a man? Do you feel 100% as a man? Do you feel good? So I was in that space of just like, I was going to work and the poem just came to me just like that. So when I got to work, I just wrote it and I left it on my laptop again. And the next day, because I wanted to do it in the office. And later
Okay.
on, the next day, I came in and I just recorded it because I didn't have any distractions that day. So that's the space. It's always been on my mind, like, because again, when you don't have those presents in your life, you always kind of question yourself, and then eventually you get to the point of your life. You know what kind of man you are, but that question's
Yeah.
always going to be like helping you move forward and remember the steps you made. Yeah,
I've Man, I don't think I've ever been asked that question myself
exactly.
and ever actually really thought about it. I have a poem that I wrote called Manhood, and
Yeah.
it kind of deals with that sort of thing, like kind of what you touched on before. You know, a lot of people talk about having a coming from a one parent home and not having a father around, but sometimes you have a two-parent home and the father is always at work or something like that.
Yep.
And then it's that time missing to where, you know, certain things they should be teaching you, or even let's say he was raised in a one parent home.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of things that he learned, his mother couldn't show him. And it's like, well, just figure it out.
Yep.
So now that kind of trickles down over to when they have kids. It's like, okay, go ahead and figure it out. But
Yeah.
to show a boy how to become a man, it's like certain things you should teach them and then let them navigate their own way, but you at least have to lay the groundwork.
Yeah.
And so I was having a conversation about that because I was thinking about my friends and cousins and stuff. Like a lot of us, we basically quote unquote learn how to be men from each other.
Yep. Exactly.
Like we were trying to do stuff or whatever, and we didn't know what we were talking about or what we were doing, but we figured we had the best advice for each other.
Yeah. And that's what it is. It's the lessons that's been passed down from generation and generation. But that question just sparks that interest because it brings it back onto you. Like, what kind of man do you want to be? I got all these lessons, I got all these tools. But sometimes, like, in those lessons, we still trying to check a box. But they're not our
Yeah,
box. What box do I want to check? That
right.
makes me feel good as a man.
That's true. It's because it's so because I even talk about that too. It's like, okay, growing up, we were taught to be tough,
Yep.
and you fall down or whatever, you walk it off. I have
Mm-hmm.
another point about that. You walk it off, but you don't really check to see if you're okay. You
Yeah.
just walking it off, and it's just like you just learning how to deal with the pain or discomfort. And
Mm-hmm.
it could be something that shows up later on. And I think that we carry that on into adulthood when something bothers us or hurt us. We just walk it off without actually sitting there and processing what we're feeling.
Yeah.
And then over time, that thing just creeps up, and you don't want it going off on you like your family or anything like that. And it's like,
Exactly.
whoa, whoa, where did that come from? And it's like, the stuff I didn't deal with when I was little because I just kept stuff in.
Yep. So true, man. It happens like especially for young males. We taught that lesson. Just we don't cry. Which,
Yeah.
listen, that's one of the best feelings and best through therapy. I'm learning that's one of the things that's healing for just anybody. You gotta let all
Anybody.
yeah, you gotta let that stuff out, man. You can't just hold it in. So we taught that lesson, like men don't cry. We gotta be macho. We gotta be strong. So that's the reason why I just want to throw the question out. And that's one thing about my poems. Like I want the topic in most poems, most poems, I want the topic to just be that question to like get you thinking
Right.
and not like getting stuck in these boxes and so forth. So that's the reason. Like, and a lady reached out to me and she's like, I'm gonna ask my sons this all the time now, and it feels
Yeah.
good. But again, that's a lesson that I feel like I'm passing along, but it's something that they can take with them and always check in. It's like, yo, I don't have to live in these boxes. Yeah, this makes me feel good, but these are the boxes I want to check too. Yeah.
Man, that is so important. I'm glad that you're doing this and you're working with youth and just trying to give them a better outlook on things and some things that our generation probably missed. And I know for their generation, there's a lot more pressure and stress, man. Like I was thinking about this the other day. Like if we wanted to play, well, for us, it was what, Sega?
Yeah. Yep.
Sega,
Yep. Yep.
if we wanted to play against each other, we had to meet up at somebody's house to
Yep.
play.
Exactly.
And there was no other way around it. But now you can jump online
Yeah.
and don't even have to leave your house. They got cell phones.
Yeah.
I mean, the phones have cameras. It's
Yeah.
like if somebody got bullied, let's say somebody got into trouble at school or got into a fight at school,
Mm-hmm.
only the people at that school pretty much knew about it.
Yep.
But nowadays it's recorded and it's shared all over the world. It's like a different type of pressure, man.
Yeah. It's a different, and things are changing left and right. And it's like technology is growing so fast that
So fast.
a lot of people can't even keep up with it.
Yeah.
So it's one of the pros and cons of technology. But again, it's like how you use it too.
Right, right. How do you navigate, I guess, communicating with youth and being from our generation? Do you run into the old adage of, well, you don't know what you're talking about and that sort of thing? Like, how do you say, even though I'm older than you, my experience can help you?
For me, it's more about um, I never get students say you don't understand.
Okay.
Um, it's I can see what it is for them. It's more frustrating because I understand this is more of like a transference energy. Like it's not the energy towards me; it's what they want to tell their parents. Right?
Mm,
It's a lot of the
yeah.
times the kids don't want to tell the parents what's going on, so they come to my office and they'll let me know everything, right? Because they feel safe, they feel comfortable, they know that I'm listening. So I never run into those things. But I'm also like I'm firm with them too. Like that's one of the things as a counselor you have to talk about is confidentiality. I tell them all the time: you come in here and you saying that you want to hurt yourself, you want to hurt somebody else, or you think about it, you know that I'm going to tell the next person up. So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
know. I was like, just so you before you say that, just know I got a job on the line.
Yeah.
So I never run into those issues because I feel it's more of me building that strong relationships with them and the families, and I I, I don't run into it. I can say I'm lucky, you know. Of course, there's some students that just don't want to open up to me, and that's
Yeah.
fine, you know. Eventually, either they will come back to my office, and sometimes they'll find somebody else, and that's just life, you know.
Yeah.
I can't reach every kid.
Right. As long
Just
as they finding somebody else, that's still good too. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Just like we would love to, you know, all our portrait to find everybody in the world.
What? Yeah. For real.
That'd be amazing.
Yes.
But it ain't happening, you know, right now.
Yeah, right now,
Right
right
now.
now. It's coming.
It's
It's
coming.
coming.
You know, you doing your podcast, you got your what's your second book, right?
Third.
Third, yeah, you killing it,
Yeah. Yeah, see?
man.
We the last time I was working on that second one and
Yeah,
that third one is out. I'm just waiting on your third one to come
man.
out. You know,
I
your
can
first one we'll jump to that right now. Your first one was called She Gave Birth Not Life.
yeah. See that title, man. It's always a title.
What was the inspiration behind that, and
Uh,
how do you like your process writing that book in comparison to what you're writing now?
oh
What would
man.
you say the biggest difference is from that book to now?
Now you about to get into my whole life story right now. So that I'm gonna tell you about the first book I wrote. I gotta even go further back. So you're gonna have to remind me about this question, right?
Okay.
I'm gonna jump into the question. I'm presenting my own question. Um, why did I start writing in the first place? That'll bring you back to the question you just asked me. Uh,
Right.
so long story short, I was in a dark place, you know, and I'm gonna say this was high school, really middle school,
Okay.
leading into high school, because I was going from place to place, a lot of stuff with family, and
Yeah.
I remember this is a crazy story. Nobody believes me, but I still tell the story. Um, I was in a dark place and I didn't have anything to, let's just say, tangible, anything to hold on to, just like, yo, continue with life. So one day, no lie, I opened up one of my drawers. I don't know why I was looking through one of my drawers, and I saw this white book, just like no title, no pictures or nothing on it. And I'm like, okay. So I pick up the book and it was a poetry book. Can't remember the author, nothing like that. But I started just writing. I mean, I started reading. And that's the moment that I really started to find passion and love and hope. And it was through this book. So one thing after that, I started to just like, I started to take some of the poems and give it to the girls. I would write it in my handwriting and give it to the girls in high school. And they say, "You wrote this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I wrote this. What you mean?" So eventually, I started to write my own. And one day, I started looking for that book. A book I couldn't find anywhere in my room. I tear the room apart, ask my grandma, and she said, "I don't know." So I don't know if that was like higher power giving me that hope and that inspiration that I needed, because I could never find that book again. Somebody took it. I don't know what happened, but it was gone. But at the same time, I already had the lessons that I needed.
Yeah.
So I'm writing. After I lost the book, I had no choice but to just start writing my own stuff. So the first book was just mainly, I thought I knew what I was doing. She gave birth. I started, like, you'll see certain pages where my language and vocabulary and like using literary devices in the book. Um, so that's when I started to grow. It's in small fractions of that book.
Okay.
And yeah, so with the title, going back to, my childhood trauma. Um, so me and my mom didn't have a good relationship. I think you know this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't have a good relationship because my father passed away when I was 2. Um, so I didn't have a father. And then here I am. My mom is just absent from my life too. So I went through a long period of my life where I always asked myself, like, yo, why is my mom not doing this? Why didn't she do this? Why can't she help me with this? Why did she leave us? Blah blah. I had all these questions. So one day I was just writing off topic, and that title just came out of nowhere. She gave birth, not life. So in I, some people will take it out of context, and I try to bring it back full circle. So what I was just saying in there is just like, we all, like, our parents give birth, but it's our life to what we want to do with it. Like, we can sit up there and worry about what they did and what they didn't do, but we can take our own responsibility and just move forward our own life and just like move forward and be happy and not
Right.
worry about all
Yeah.
these other obstacles that they went through, because they had their own stuff that they had to jump over. So I was just saying, like, hey, our parents give us birth. Now it's our life. What are we gonna do with it?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge difference compared to what you're writing now.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say that you learned from writing that book compared to your writing process now? Is it easier, or do you find a challenge trying to not necessarily duplicate your first book but still have that same effect?
Hmm. I think right now I'm in a different place. Um, my first book, it was so much of me being a, let's just say, victim, you know. And
Hmm.
now I'm writing more about, yeah, it's a little bit of a mixture, but at the same time, I understand that I'm victorious from all the stuff that I've been through in the past. I'm victorious, and I write now with a more of a purpose. Like, I want people to be inspired, not
Yeah.
feel so much of my pain.
Yeah.
So I want that to be remembered. And usually on people online, they'll send me some things offline to direct message and stuff like that, how much they appreciate, you know, my writings and so forth. So that's, I'm trying to write into a more of a victorious versus, someone that's been victimized and a victim.
I've noticed that too with your the poems that you share on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like you find those pictures that you find
Yeah.
to go with your poems. What's the process behind that?
Uh, Honestly, believe it or not, what some of my writings, I'll go into explore and I'll find a picture and I'll write a poem just like that. Sometimes it takes me like 5, 10 minutes, but the picture is the inspiration. And
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So if you look at the poem, you look at the picture, it has a correlation between the two.
Never knew that.
There you go. Now you know. So that's. But I'm trying to get out of that now. Like I said, I just want to get to a place where I could do videos, just videos, and just people get to see
Yeah.
who I am, versus like
Yeah.
the art of somebody else's work. Because I know nowadays, and you probably know this too, people don't like to read.
Nah,
So
nah. They
we
rather grab an audiobook first.
exactly. So now I'm trying to just do the video and throw the caption at the bottom or whatever the case may be, so people know who I am, and just one day more and more I get some more people follow me and stuff like that.
Yeah, we talked about this in the pre-show,
Yeah.
which is how we led up to having a pre-recorded opening, and we talked about just the, you know, having to share your work. Like, I know what it was for me, and I think I can say I'm past that now because I was just kind of thrown into it. But
Yep.
we have some similarities. Like, you used to public speaking, so am I. But it
Hmm.
was something about sharing poems that just seemed different. And I don't, somebody asked me if maybe the poems were too personal. And
Hmm.
I'm just thinking, like, no, I don't think they were. Because I can sit here and if somebody had asked me to maybe share a poem by somebody else, it wouldn't have that same effect.
Exactly.
So I don't know what it is, but I see that you're doing videos now because we talked about this before, and I've even thrown some videos up myself because I'm trying to really get into that. But how do you? I don't know. I guess let me let you explain it yourself. Like, what is it when it comes to sharing your poetry in the spoken form
Mm.
versus written?
It's you just said it earlier. For it's the opposite for you. For me, it's just like it's something that's very personal that I wrote, and that's when I start to get choked up over the words and so forth. And I can't really explain it other than that. It's just like so
Yeah,
personal. So when I'm saying it to other people, I guess it's for me. It's more of like, how is this individual or these individuals going to take it? Because sometimes poetry is art. Well, it is art, and
yeah,
people will like if you're looking at a painting, you and I are looking at a painting. I might see something totally different from what you see,
yep,
and that's the same thing when it comes to somebody writing poetry. So they'd be like, I heard this, I heard this. So in my mind, I'm just like, okay, they probably take it as this, and which and I really mean this. But and I realize, like with my work, that's why I want to people to do it anyway. It's like, take
yeah,
it's
yeah.
yours now. Whatever you felt from this, that's yours. You know.
I got some advice from a poet. She said that as far as like reciting your poems in public or wherever, just like hone into like that one person you want to hear your poem
Mm,
and just pretend like you're saying it to them.
yeah.
And she said that works.
So
And I tried it out and yeah, it works. And then it's just like the times I've just been thrown into like, yeah, can we hear a poem? It's just like, really?
yeah,
And then when you on the spot like that, it's just like I can't say no.
yeah.
And
Especially you,
yeah.
because people just coming out of nowhere like, let me hear poems in the sector, in the public sector. Let me hear poems.
Right. Right. But it's yeah, man. It's after like I'm even thinking about now because the last few guests I had, they're spoken word poets, slam poets, and
Wow.
they got me thinking about even giving a shot, trying it out,
You should, man. If you already started
just to
that
see.
process.
Yeah, man. Because I dealt with this thing like I guess it's comparison because I'm like I just want to read, just read it off or whatever. But
Yeah.
like these artists, man, they have like the cadence and delivery,
Yeah.
and it's just like they take you on a ride.
Yep.
But then you have some people who voice doesn't change,
Nope.
and they still take you on a ride.
Yeah. This is a lady.
So
It's a lady
y-
on Instagram. When you get a chance, look her up. She's like crazy to me, and she's the one that got me into doing the videos. Hers is seasonal dialogue. I think that's what it is. I'll tag you after we get
Okay.
off. But man, she, her voice don't change at all. But it's nice.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it's no excuse now. I think I've, done talked to too many people for me not to do it. At least try it. And it might be one of those experiences where I actually like it and it might be my thing.
Yeah,
So,
you might be a
hey man,
slam artist,
I
slam
might I
poetry.
know, right? So I just yeah, man, I just want to encourage you just to try it, man. I
Yeah,
think you like anytime I start something that I'm kind of like I don't want to do it or
hmm
kind of putting it off, it's like as soon as I start, I completely forget about that whole feeling.
yeah,
And then when I'm done, it's like, whoa, my dog, that was easy, easier than I thought.
yeah, yeah. The thing is, it's like you got to step foot on that stage, and
Yeah.
also with that being said, you got to remember, like, all right, who do I want to be on the stage versus what I saw in
Mm,
the past and so forth.
yeah.
Because some people, that's one of the reasons why I was always kind of hesitant, because I didn't want to take anybody else's style. I just want to have my own style.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, everybody got, some people, like you said, people got cadence. Some people go up and down. Some people, they got their own little flow. Um, I always like, what's my style gonna be on this stage? So
I
that's
think
another reason why I started doing the videos too. It's like, okay, let me start here and see
yeah.
where this takes me.
Yeah,
Um,
and how's that been for you? How's that feeling been doing the videos? And do you find yourself editing a bunch of times, or do you just go through it and let it rip?
I go through it first, um,
Okay.
and then I do the whole, what is it, iMovie on my phone or whatever the case may be, and
Okay.
yeah, and just take out what I didn't want to take, want in the thing, and then add some music. So it's very easy, because once you put it on Instagram, you can do the caption itself and you can change the font. Of course, the more I get into it, the more I'm gonna find like little things that I want to add, right? So,
Of course.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's, you got to start somewhere. Then
Somewhere.
something, you're gonna find something that you really want to do or change. You be like, all right, I'm gonna do this. Let me see how this looks now. So that's the same thing like what you just said. Like, you're gonna get on that stage and you're gonna perform, and the more you perform, you're gonna find your own style. You know how it is. You have a plan, and then you get on, you start the plan. The next thing you know, there's a new plan.
Right. We talked about that in the pre-show. Like when you reciting your poems, it's like it's not, sometimes it's not verbatim than the
Yep.
way you wrote it.
Yep.
And then sometimes if somebody's following along, that just leaves them kind of confused. And it's like, oh, did you change the poem? It's like,
Yeah.
no, that's just how I felt at that moment. I think it needed that word there instead of this word. It's not
Exactly.
intentional because like we have these poems inside of us essentially. And then when we're writing it down, you know, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm always looking at an old poem thinking about, man, I could have said this differently. Or I could have added
Yep.
this or taken this away. But yeah, that reciting thing is like you try your best to stay
Yeah.
verbatim, but if not, it still works out.
Yeah. That's art at the end of the day. If I don't know if you ever drew before or
Oh
paint.
man, bruh. When I tell you and that's bad that you don't know that, but yeah, I used to draw and paint all the time.
Wow. Yeah.
And I kind of stopped. And
Wow.
yeah, like yeah.
It
I, I
happens.
I keep saying that I'm gonna start back and I need to just quit just saying it and doing it.
Yeah.
Like I used to love to draw. Painting, when I got into that, I love painting. I still
Yeah.
have some stuff from high school that I never finished.
Wow.
I still got it. Like it's this one drawing that I have that I really want to get back to. Never finished it. So I was looking to take some like classes or something just like as a refresher
Yeah.
because those things do help. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna get back to it.
Yeah, trust me, you're gonna need that refresher. Because like I said, I'm in a high school, so some of my students, they love anime. So I said, let me try this one day, because I used to draw all the time too.
Yeah.
And man, I crumbled that paper up like 6 times. Man, I'm done. Because I used to draw all the time. I could just like draw faces. I could draw all these
Yeah.
things, man. And I'm just like, yo. But that's the thing about it. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, and now that you're saying that, I'm remembering that. Yeah.
Yeah, I could because I went to
Yeah.
school for art education. That was
Yeah.
part of my minor, and I was always painting, drawing. And my brother was the one that was starting off with the letters and stuff. And then I left
Yeah.
the letters and I started to focus on faces. And next thing you know, I was in art education, drawing, painting, doing all that stuff. So yeah, man. So let me ask you this: what's your end goal? I think we talked about this off topic, like on the phone, but I can't remember what you said because I know you got 3 books out. You about to do some, you know, some spoken word. What's your end goal?
My thing is spreading like positivity and love. Like my first 2 books were dedicated to love because, I saw a need for that with like social media, and that's around the time when reality shows were really getting stupid,
Yeah,
and people talking about how negative love is and love is pain and all this different stuff. So I just felt the need to put it out there and let people know that love isn't all this negative stuff.
yeah,
It's people that's hurting you, not love itself.
exactly.
And, so that's my mission. And then I developed this mantra to spread love in a world that seems to be full of hate.
Mm,
Because I used to say that is full of hate, but I thought about it, I was like, I can't say it's full of hate because that means there's no room for love.
mm-hmm.
So I changed it to spreading love in a world that seems to be full of hate because everybody thinks it's so hateful. And yeah, it's a lot of bad stuff going on. I'm not gonna sit here and downplay like it isn't, but there's still room for love. And at the end of the day, there's love somewhere. And so
Yeah,
I just wanted to do my part. You can't sit there and complain about something if you're not doing your part. And
exactly.
so that's what I wanted to do. And then this third book was a different approach. It was more of it I realized my first 2 books had a female audience, even though it wasn't intentional. But we talk
Mm,
about love, going back to what we talked about earlier, like
yeah,
that's just something we didn't talk about growing up. It didn't seem quote unquote macho.
yeah,
And so I was like, I need something kind of for the fellas. So I developed some poems that kind of touched on, some things that we were talking about earlier, like manhood. What does that look like?
yeah.
Not dealing with your emotions and things like that. And then when George Floyd got murdered, I was in the process of writing, but some of my poems changed.
Mm,
And then I found myself using that as like an outlet for like my pain and frustration.
yeah.
And then I was like, man, like these poems aren't leaving any hope.
Mm-hmm.
And so I need to make sure that even if I'm sharing something, I want it to be an educational tool as well, and something where there's some sort of hope. I didn't want to just spew all my emotions out on paper and put that out there.
Yeah.
And so I made sure that my poems had some hope in it. Like there's a poem called Familiar Fruit that I wrote, and it's a modern day version of Strange Fruit.
Mm,
And I wasn't going to share that one because I was like, man, this is kind of playing into the narrative. And it seems like, anytime there's pain and trauma in our stories, everybody loves it and is
yeah.
celebrated. And I was talking to my wife and my mother about it, and they both said it almost at the same time. It's like I should put the poem in the book
Mm-hmm.
to start it off, and then maybe do like a little introduction saying, why, where, whatever, and then go into the book.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to show that our stories aren't traumatic stories. Our stories aren't full of pain. And then that's where the title came from. Pain is not our only paintbrush. Because I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to show that Black stories can be beautiful, could be joyful, and it's something that the whole world could apply to their life and see.
Mm-hmm.
Because, growing up and stuff, we see a lot of things that were basically like staples in us growing up, but the people didn't look like us.
Yep.
So I'm like, well, I want to do my part to have something that everybody can enjoy, but the people look like us.
Yeah.
And so that's where that came from. So it's like whatever I'm writing, well, whatever I'm sharing that I'm writing, it always has like the root of love. And I want to just anybody who comes across my poem, I want to let them be inspired, motivated. I want them to find something in them that can help them and let them know that, there's some positivity in the world. There's love in the world. And it's not all the things that they see on TV, on social media, all
Yep.
these relationship clips from, stuff
Yep.
like that.
Exactly. You get all the bad stuff on social media,
Yeah.
and
So
if you can constantly consume that, you just gonna think that's real.
man, tell me about it. That's just, we could do a whole episode about that by itself.
I'm telling you, man. Social media have you go crazy, man. You gotta take your breaks once in a while, man.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. It's like, the world it can be very ugly, but you gotta find your outlets of love and that positivity to keep you, afloat. Because if you
Yeah.
constantly taking all that negativity, you're gonna drown.
Yeah. And some people, what they don't realize is like they keep going down the rabbit hole of all these negative stories and all these negative things, and it's not healthy. It's cool. Now you
Mm-hmm.
should always be informed about what's going on, but don't let that be the only thing that you're feeding yourself.
Exactly.
Like, okay, this is happening, what's happening? But what else is happening? What
Yeah.
positive things are happening, and what type of positive contributions can you add to what's going on?
Exactly. Or sometimes you need to just put your phone down and pick up a book.
Yeah.
And that's it. Turn
Yeah.
the TV to off, put your phone down, pick up a book. Pick up a poetry book at that.
Yeah, exactly. Pick up one of our books.
Exactly. And stop looking at social media. But that's that addiction. And that's what,
Yeah.
I always say, your son, it was in some of my poems. Like, I want people to get addicted to words and poetry, not this other mess.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I'm telling you, like, the little things that I make up, and you probably too. Like, I had a poem. It was just talking about, um, it was something sexual, but it was really about like poetry, undressing these words, and I kept going on and on. So things like that, it really makes me like, ooh, this is good, and I want everybody to read it. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I like when you have to I love those pieces where it looks like one thing, but it's actually another.
yeah, those are
And
best.
it's fun to try to see who can figure it out or how it's figured out.
Yeah. That's the thing about I love about writing, man. It's always going to be something that I feel passionate about until I'm dead. You know what I'm saying? Because I enjoy
Yeah.
writing. I can get an idea just like that, and I can write it in like 5 or 10 minutes, and that's a good thing, man. That's a talent. But
Yeah.
you can't take for granted. It,
For real.
you know.
When you're writing, do you have a routine for writing, or however it comes, that's how you get it out?
Um, it depends. Like for example, sometimes I'll be laying in bed middle of the night and I got an idea. I gotta grab my phone and I can write down what I'm thinking. Not the whole thing, but just to like something when I wake up to remember, I can go
Mm,
off that.
yeah.
Sometimes it's just like I told you earlier, I can just look at a picture, boom, I'm gonna write something down. Sometimes it's just an experience that I see outside. I could be at a park and I see something and I can just create this story right then and there. And that's how my brain works. Or it's just something that I could be watching a movie and I'd be like, oh, I'm inspired to write something. Because ultimately, for me, what I always wanted to do, and because I'm a real person that like, let's just say I'm a real person that loves love and hip hop, rhythm and
Ah,
blues.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
always wanted to be a songwriter, but I never had someone to just sit me down because just like your poems, you could turn your poems into like songs and be making so much money.
Okay. Right.
Because if you think about it, who's making the most money in the industry that's not a producer? It's the people that's writing the songs.
That's
So
true.
I'm always like thought about like I wanted to be a songwriter, and that would be my ultimate, let's just say, goal. If I can write songs, I don't have to be, just put my name up there. I don't need to be in the cameras, none of that. I just want, you know, the song out, give me my money, and keep it moving.
Yeah.
That's it.
I see that. I see that next to you, man. I think that should be your next venture. Well, after you get this next book out,
Second
of
book,
course.
second book that's sitting on my laptop, man. I appreciate you, man, for giving me. I forgot the young lady's name, but I got her on Instagram, so
Okay.
she's got to be the one. I sent one of my friends because she's writing a book too, and I was like, she asked me, "Do you know anybody that can like do the grammar and all this other stuff?" I said, I can send you the Instagram page and you can reach out to her.
Yeah.
So all the stuff that you gave me, I gave to her.
Okay. Yeah.
Even the app, I was like, hey, if you want to create something, use this app. This is what my friend told me about. I use it to like create my second cover. So yeah,
Man, that's good, man. I'm waiting on this next book to come out. I'm
that's
always giving you a hard time about it, checking in, see
man.
where you are with the progress.
It's so bad, bro. It's like it's done, but I keep
Yeah, I know.
adding more. Next thing you know, it's about to be 200 pages.
Hey, that might be, and that's the one thing that somebody asked me when I had a book signing was like, how do you know when a poem is done or a book is done? It's like you just have to stop yourself
Yeah,
sometimes
you got
because
to.
it can keep going.
You'll keep going. You mess around at 500 pages. Like, oh wait, I wrote all this. Yeah,
Right.
and that's how I be, man. Some stuff I lose, but now that I have this little app that I start on, so I don't lose it. But it's probably gonna be. I'm gonna try to keep it no more than 150. It's
Okay.
that's the plan, man. It's really done. I just gotta do those next steps. But it's been, as I told you a while back. It's just getting back from the wedding and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta,
Congratulations again.
yeah. I'm just ready for the summer to come so I can just like really, I got some time now. Hopefully my
Right.
wife don't
Right.
have me doing some other stuff, running around, do this, do this, do that. But I have some time, and you know, I should be done.
All right, man. We'll have you back on next season to talk about your finished book.
Definitely.
Before I let you get out of here, do you have any final words or anything you would like to share?
First of all, I want to thank you for just having me on your podcast. Appreciate it. And just, if anybody follow me, leave me a comment if you read one of my poems. Hopefully, I inspire so many people with the words that I'm using, because that's my goal. Just like you, T. I want to inspire with love, passion, and I want to continue that. And hopefully, like other people can jump on board with that same, you know, let's just say motivation. But that's it, Brian L. Brown. Thank you again for having me, man.
Oh, no doubt, man. How can they find you on social media? Because I noticed you changed
Oh
your
yeah,
name, your Instagram handle. So, what are your
yeah.
socials so that people can connect with you?
Man, let me check my Instagram, because I changed it for a good reason. People want to know why. They can always reach out to my handle. Let me just go here. So it's the wounded underscore counselor.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they can
Well,
find me there.
all right. So everybody, check him out. Go purchase his first book. Soon you'll be able to purchase a second book. Appreciate you, man. I really appreciate you coming on. And to my listeners, remember, keep pushing forward.
Definitely, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and this is the place where poetry meets conversation. Hit that follow button and turn on your notifications so you won't miss an episode. Check out my blog, thebrownsugarcafe.blog. Also connect with me on Instagram at thebrownsugarcafe. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and as always, remember, keep pushing forward.